Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are breaking down the greatest story ever told, one chapter at a time.
Today, we are on chapter 53, The Baratie Becomes a Battlefield.
And what a title! It's not an exaggeration. The floating restaurant is officially a war zone. But the moment that sets it all off, we see the cooks have this giant, ridiculous fish head boat they use as a weapon.
The Sabagashira number 1.
Don Krieg, this mountain of armor, just casually swats it away like a fly. But then, Sanji steps up. If you believe in the strength that's been simmering just under the surface, do us a favor and send this episode to one friend who needs to catch up. Help them see the kick that changes everything.
Let's get into it. The chapter opens right where we left off. Jin is down, Luffy has declared he's not leaving, and Don Krieg makes his intentions clear.
He's not just there for food anymore. He looks at the Baratie and says, "That's a good ship. I'm taking it." The sheer audacity is off the charts. It's one thing to steal treasure, but to steal a man's home, his business, his entire life's work right in front of him, that's a different level of pirate.
But his logic is sound from a pirate's perspective. He points out that no one would ever suspect a floating restaurant of being a pirate ship. It's the perfect disguise for sailing into the Grand Line. It's a Trojan horse.
He's not wrong. It's actually a brilliant, underhanded plan. He's a coward, but he's a smart coward. He wants to avoid the fight before it even starts. It reminds me a little of Captain Kuro's plan, all about misdirection and avoiding a straight-up fight. But Kuro wanted to disappear. Krieg wants to use the disguise to get back to the top.
It shows the trauma the Grand Line inflicted on him. He's not looking for a glorious battle. He's looking for the path of least resistance. He wants to sneak back in, not charge in. His spirit was broken by whatever he encountered. All that's left is this desperate, cunning ambition. He saw the front door to the Grand Line, got slammed in the face, and now he's looking for the back window to sneak through.
And you see that trauma ripple through his crew. One of his own guys speaks up. He's terrified, and you can't blame him. He says something like, "Are you kidding? We're not going back there. We'll all die again." He's the one voice of reason in 100 men.
And Krieg's response is immediate and brutal. He shoots him. No hesitation. He just kills him. He makes it absolutely clear that dissent is not an option. It's a chilling moment.
That's the difference right there. That's the whole story. On Luffy's crew, Usopp can challenge him to a duel for the ship, and he's still family. They fight, they cry, they break apart, but the foundation of love and respect is still there. On Krieg's crew, you express a valid, life-saving fear, and you get executed on the spot.
It's a crew held together by absolute fear. Krieg isn't a captain in the way Luffy is. He's a commander of a naval fleet who happens to fly a pirate flag. His men are soldiers, and they're expendable cogs in his machine. He has no emotional connection to them. They are tools to achieve his goal, and a tool that voices dissent is a broken tool.
And that's why he'll never be king of the pirates. His foundation is rotten. A crew like that will break the second the captain shows a moment of weakness. Luffy's crew gets stronger when he's in trouble because they rally around him. We saw it when Zoro took on Mihawk for him. We're gonna see it time and time again. Krieg's crew would just scatter to the winds. They're not a crew, they're a collection of hostages.
Then Krieg reveals the other part of his plan. It's not just about the ship. He mentions Zeff's logbook, and this is where the entire dynamic of his motivation shifts.
This is the real treasure. Forget the ship, the logbook is everything. A detailed account of a year-long voyage through the Grand Line, written by a captain who actually survived it. That's like finding a walkthrough for the hardest video game ever made by the guy who holds the world record.
That knowledge is priceless, more valuable than any gold. For someone like me, that document would be the ultimate treasure. It would be a map through paradise, a guide to avoiding the mistakes Krieg made the first time. This is why he targeted the Baratie specifically.
You're right. It wasn't just a random restaurant he stumbled upon. He knew Red Leg Zeff was there. He came for the book. That adds a whole new layer to it. He wasn't just desperate and starving. He was on a mission. The starvation was a setback, not the primary goal.
It completely reframes Zeff's legacy. He's not just a retired pirate who lost his leg. He's one of the few who went into the Grand Line and came out the other side. Not in defeat, but by choice. That puts him in a very, very small category of pirates, especially from that era. We're talking about the same era as Roger. To have navigated that sea and chosen to retire is a testament to his strength and wisdom.
It makes you wonder what's even written in there. What islands did he see? What enemies did he face? Is there anything in there about the all blue? It has to be, right?
I'm sure of it, and that's probably the only reason Sanji hasn't tried to read it himself. For Sanji, the journey is the destination. To read the logbook would be like skipping to the last page of a book. It would cheapen his dream. He wants to find it on his own. But for Krieg, this logbook is a shortcut back to power. It's a cheat code.
And hearing this, his crew does a total 180. One minute, they're terrified of going back. The next, they hear about this magic book and they're ready to die for him. It's like a switch flips in their heads.
It's the promise of a second chance. Krieg is offering them a way to conquer the sea that almost destroyed them. He's selling them hope, backed by Zeff's experience. It's a powerful motivator. He takes their trauma and weaponizes it, twisting their fear into a new, desperate kind of greed.
So they start their attack, a full-on assault on the Baratie. It's pure chaos, and Luffy, without a moment's hesitation, just leaps right into the middle of them. He just cannonballs into 100 armed pirates.
He has no personal stake in this, not really. He could leave. The Mary is right there. But he made a deal with Zeff. It's that simple.
I told the old guy I'd work here for a year. That's his entire justification. No big hero speech. No, I must protect the innocent. Just, I'm a chore boy. This is my job right now. It's that simple for him. A promise is a promise. He's defending the restaurant because he gave his word. That's his entire moral compass right there.
He's not a hero defending the innocent. He's a chore boy protecting his workplace. And that is so perfectly, stubbornly Luffy. He sees the world in such simple, direct terms. Zeff gave Sanji food. Sanji gave him food. Luffy broke the roof. Luffy has to work. Krieg is attacking his workplace. Krieg has to be stopped. The chain of logic is unbreakable in his mind.
But the cooks aren't just going to stand there and let him fight alone. This is their home. They're ready to throw down. These aren't just waiters and chefs. They're Zeff's people. You know they've seen their fair share of brawls.
And this is where we see just how prepared the Baratie is for a situation like this. It's not just a restaurant, it's a fortress. They release these side platforms, the fins.
They turn the whole restaurant into a floating battle arena. It's such a super piece of engineering. They're not going to let the fight damage their dining room. It's so practical and so awesome. This isn't the first bar fight they've ever had, not by a long shot. This design tells you that battles like this are part of their business model.
It's a testament to their identity. They are cooks first. Protecting the kitchen and the dining hall is priority number one. The fight happens outside. The sanctity of the dining space is paramount. It's a beautiful detail that tells you everything about their values.
I love it. They're not just some random chefs who happen to be tough. They're a unit, a crew in their own right. They have their own fighting style, their own code, and their own custom-built battleship restaurant. I'd love to get a look at those blueprints.
And their own weapons, which brings us to Patty and Carne, the head chefs of the fighting cooks.
Yes, they roll out the Sabagashira #1. It's the giant fish head from the front of the Baratie, but it's been converted into a paddle boat with cannons. It's a weaponized figurehead. I've designed some crazy stuff, but that is pure, beautiful seaside insanity.
It's ridiculous, but it's also genius. A weapon hidden in plain sight. It perfectly fits the aesthetic of the whole restaurant. Everything is functional. The fins for a battlefield, the figurehead for an attack vessel. Zeff didn't just build a restaurant, he built a warship that serves fine cuisine.
These two, Patty and Carne, they are so confident. They're shouting that they're going to sink Krieg's entire galleon with this little fish boat. You gotta love the energy. They have the spirit of 1,000 pirates packed into 2 chefs.
It's the fighting spirit of the restaurant personified, loud, a little goofy, but absolutely serious about defending their home. They represent the heart of the Baratie cooks. They're all bravado.
So they launch this thing, paddling like madmen, cannons firing. This is their big play, their secret weapon. They're yelling something like, "Taste our mackerel head special." This is their moment of glory.
And Krieg just stops it with one hand. The cannonballs bounce off his armor and he catches the entire boat.
The power difference is just brutal. It's a gut punch. He catches their ultimate weapon like it's a beach ball. All that hype, all that energy, and he just shuts it down effortlessly. The story builds you up with this super fun, creative weapon, and then just crushes your hopes.
It's such a deliberate moment. It's establishing the scale. Patty and Karn are tough. They're strong enough to handle most East Blue threats. We saw them deal with pirates before. But Krieg is a Grand Line pirate, even a failed one. The gap is immense. It shows us that the normal, strong guys of this sea are no match for what's to come.
He doesn't just stop it. He picks up the entire boat with them in it and hurls it back at the Baratie. He's using their own weapon to crush them. The disrespect is off the charts. It's psychological warfare.
It's an act of utter dominance. He's not just defeating them, he's humiliating them. He's showing them that their best effort, their pride and joy, is nothing more than a toy to him. It's meant to shatter their morale completely.
The other cooks are panicking, trying to get out of the way. It looks like it's going to smash right into the deck and take a bunch of them out. It's over. The momentum is huge. You think this is it. This is how the battle turns into a massacre.
But it's not.
Because Sanji steps up. He's just standing there, hands in his pockets, cigarette in his mouth. He hasn't moved this entire time. He's been an observer.
He's been watching, assessing. He wasn't part of the panic, and he wasn't part of the initial charge with Patty and Karn. He was waiting. He saw their plan, he saw it fail, and he waited for the right moment to intervene. This wasn't an impulse, it was a calculation.
And as this giant fishboat comes flying at him, this thing that a mountain of a man in armor had to put his back into to throw, Sanji just lifts his leg. One clean, perfect kick.
And he sends it flying right back at Krieg's ship, just as easily as Krieg threw it. In fact, he redirects its entire trajectory with a single point of contact.
Super. That is the moment. The entire dynamic of the fight changes in that one kick. We just saw what it took for Krieg to throw it, this huge, powerful display. Sanji did it with one leg, without even taking his hands out of his pockets. The sheer casual power of it is breathtaking.
We've seen him be a tough guy. We've seen him beat up Full Body, a Marine lieutenant. But this is different. This is a direct comparison of power against the main villain of the arc. And Sanji just matched him. Effortlessly. It's a statement.
That's the key word. Effortless. He's been holding back this entire time. All that talk, all that smooth-talking, flirtatious waiter stuff, it was all a cover for this. This is the real Sanji, the monster hiding in plain sight.
Okay, but think about what this means for Zeff. He's known. He's known Sanji had this kind of power all along. He's been training a monster. Every insult, every time he calls Sanji's food terrible, it's all been part of the training. He hasn't been raising a cook. He's been forging a warrior who happens to be a cook.
For sure. This isn't just some kid he feels sorry for. This is his protege. He passed on his fighting style, his legacy, to someone who could not only handle it, but perfect it. You don't get kicks like that just by brawling. That's years of brutal, disciplined training.
And it makes you reconsider their whole relationship. Zeff's constant nagging and insults. It's the tough love of a mentor pushing his student to be something greater. He's not trying to keep Sanji there. He's preparing him for the world outside. He knows the Grand Line. He knows what it takes to survive. He was giving Sanji the tools he would need.
He was waiting for a reason for Sanji to leave, for a crew worthy of him. And that crew just washed up on his doorstep. Luffy saw it. He saw the strength in Sanji from the beginning. He wasn't just hungry, he was recruiting.
Luffy has an instinct for that. He recognizes that core strength in people even when they try to hide it. He saw it in Zoro sleeping on a cross. He saw it in Nami's defiant eyes, and he definitely sees it in Sanji. He doesn't just see a cook, he sees a fighter who loves food.
So, now all the cards are on the table. Krieg knows there's a fighter on the Baratie who is on his level. The cooks now see that Sanji isn't just one of them, he's their protector. He's on a completely different plane of existence. And Luffy just saw his future cook prove he's a top-tier fighter. He's got the biggest grin on his face, you just know it.
The battlefield is set, the power levels have been established, and the real fight for the Baratie is about to begin. That kick wasn't just a defensive move, it was an opening salvo.
That kick was a declaration of war. What a way to end the chapter. It gives me chills just thinking about it. The moment is just so perfect. The motion lines, the impact, the stunned faces of everyone watching. It's pure One Piece.
It's the first time we've seen one of the East Blue crew, besides Luffy or Zoro, display that kind of world-class potential. Nami is a brilliant navigator, Usopp is a great sniper, but this is raw power on a different scale. This is the third pillar of the Straw Hat fighting force being put into place.
He's a monster, a true monster, and he's been hiding it behind a suit and a bad attitude. Absolutely incredible. It makes you wonder what else he's hiding. What other named kicks does he have in his arsenal?
I'm just thinking about that logbook again. If Zeff's fighting style can produce a warrior like Sanji, what other secrets is he hiding? What did he learn in the Grand Line that was so important he'd write it all down? It's not just a travelogue, it must be a manual for survival.
It has to be more than just navigation routes. It's got to be about devil fruits, maybe hockey, even if they don't call it that. It's the survival guide to the most dangerous sea in the world. How to read the weather, how to identify dangerous currents, what factions to avoid, what islands or marine strongholds. That book is Zeff's entire life.
And Krieg wants it. He's not going to back down now, even with Sanji revealed. That book is his key to redemption. He'll tear the whole restaurant apart to get it. In fact, Sanji's display of strength probably makes him want the logbook even more. It's proof of Zeff's power.
He can try, but now he's not just fighting some cooks and a rubber boy. He's fighting the future cook of the king of the pirates, and he's about to find out what a terrible mistake he's made. He thought he was robbing a restaurant, but he's actually stumbled into a nest of monsters.
Sanji showed his strength. Now Luffy has to show his. Krieg is wearing a full suit of armor, covered in weapons. A brawler like Luffy might have trouble with that. Blunt force isn't always effective against steel plating.
Yeah, but Luffy's terrifying for a reason. He doesn't just punch harder. He finds a way around the problem. He's going to find a weakness in that armor and exploit it. It's not about breaking the armor. It's about breaking the man inside. Remember how he beat Kuro? He didn't just outspeed him. He grabbed him and just held on. He finds a simple brute force solution to a complex problem.
This fight is shaping up to be far more complex than Arlong's invasion of Kokoyasi, which we know is coming. That was a grudge. This is a siege, a battle of resources and willpower fought on a tiny floating stage.
And a battle for a dream. Sanji's dream of the all blue, which is tied to this restaurant and to Zeff. Luffy's dream of being Pirate King, which requires a cook. And Krieg's broken dream of conquering the Grand Line. It's all colliding right here.
It's the perfect setup for the chapters to come. Every piece is in place.
I'm so fired up. We've got all these different fighters on the field, from the regular cooks to powerhouses like Sanji and Luffy, all against this giant pirate fleet. Let us know in the comments who you think the MVP of the Baratie chefs is, besides Sanji. My vote's for Patty. The guy's got style, and that meatball cannon is just awesome.
It has to be Carney. The bazooka was a bold choice. He brings heavy artillery to a knife fight. I respect that. Now for predictions.
All right, my turn first. Prediction 1, now that Sanji's power is revealed, he's going to get a real one-on-one fight. It has to be against Jin. Jin is the second in command, the one who understands honor. They're a perfect matchup. Jin uses those tonfas, Sanji uses his legs. It's a battle of styles, but more importantly, a battle of loyalties.
That feels inevitable. Jin owes Luffy his life, but is loyal to Krieg. A fight with Sanji, who represents the Baratie's kindness, would be a conflict of loyalties for him. He's the most complex character on Krieg's side.
Prediction 2, we're going to see Zeff do more than just stand there. Not fight, obviously, but he'll direct the battle like a true captain. He'll be shouting orders, pointing out weaknesses in Krieg's strategy from the sidelines. He can't fight on the front lines, but he can be the general. He's the veteran commander here.
A tactical overview from the master. He'll see things the others don't because of his experience. I like that. It gives him a crucial role without compromising the story of him being retired.
And prediction 3, Luffy is going to get temporarily trapped or disabled by one of Krieg's tricks. Krieg is all about gadgets and foul play. I'm thinking a weighted net or just a regular iron cage, something that takes his simple brawling out of the equation and forces him to think his way out or rely on his crew to free him. Krieg is not going to fight him fair.
Forcing him to be creative. Okay, my turn. My first prediction is that we'll learn the name of Don Krieg's main ship. It's this massive, imposing vessel, and it feels strange that it remains unnamed when the Mary has a name, even the Baratie has a name. I feel like it has to be something huge and intimidating, like the Dreadnought Saber.
Good one. A ship that big has to have a name. It's a character in its own right. I bet it's covered in spikes.
Second prediction. Krieg's unbeatable warlord armor has a specific, almost silly weakness. Something related to food or the kitchen. Maybe it rusts easily with salt water, or the joints jam up if they get greasy. Sanji, with his cook's knowledge of ingredients and materials, will be the one to spot it. It would fit the theme of the Baratie perfectly.
Oh, I love that. A chef's eye for detail finds the crack in the armor. Krieg's brute force being undone by culinary science. That's beautiful. Perfect.
And for my final prediction, Mihawk is not gone. He's just watching from his little coffin boat somewhere over the horizon. The final scene of the next chapter, or the one after, will be a shot of him sitting there with his wine, observing the chaos he started. He didn't just leave. He cut down a fleet and saw a flicker of something interesting in Zoro and Luffy. He wants to see how this plays out. He's a spectator to the history he just set in motion.
Oh man, that would be so cool. Just a little reminder that the world is way bigger than this little restaurant. The strongest swordsman in the world is just chilling, watching the show. I really hope you're right about that one. What a cliffhanger that would be.
We'll have to wait and see. This battle is just getting started, and it feels like anything could happen.
You said it. That's all the time we have for today. Join us next time as we dive into Chapter 54. Until then, stay super.
And keep searching for your own history.